A 65-year-old man arrives in the emergency department after repeated vomiting. He complains of sudden, severe chest pain. Is this a heart attack, or is it something far more deadly? Today we're going to discuss Boerhaave Syndrome, a rare but life-threatening surgical emergency that can be easily missed in clinical practice. Hey guys, and welcome to How to Gastro, Medical Lectures Made Easy, presented by me, Dr. Ishvani Govender. And in today's video, we'll be doing a deep dive into Boerhaave Syndrome. So let's get started. So what is Boerhaave Syndrome? So Boerhaave Syndrome is a spontaneous, full-thickness rupture of the esophagus that usually occurs after forcefully vomiting. It is a life-threatening surgical emergency. So from this definition of Boerhaave syndrome, we understand that it's a full-thickness rupture of the esophagus. So remember again, the esophagus is made up of four main layers. We have the mucosa, or the innermost layer, the submucosa, the circular layer, and the longitudinal layers, which make up the muscularis. And then we have the adventitia, which is the outermost layer of the esophagus. So in Boerhaave syndrome, we have a full-thickness rupture, meaning all these layers have been compromised, and this actually occurs after forcefully vomiting. So vomiting means content of the stomach is actually moving up through the esophagus at high speed because it's forceful and expelled through the oral cavity. So due to the force of that stomach content violently making its way out of the esophagus, this is what causes that increased intrathoracic esophageal pressure within this esophageal lumen. And then we'll have a rupture of the esophagus. So the portion of the esophagus that sits in the thoracic cavity is known as the thoracic esophagus. And that's where we usually see the rupture in Boerhaave syndrome, in that portion of the thoracic esophagus. So now that we know what Boerhaave syndrome is, let's take a deeper dive into why this actually occurs. So why does the tear occur in Boerhaave syndrome? So as mentioned in the previous slide, we have the forceful vomiting, which is against a closed glottis and a non-relaxed upper esophageal sphincter. So there we have a closed glottis and the upper esophageal sphincter, which fails to relax. And this creates quite a bit of pressure within the esophageal canal. And this causes a sudden rise in pressure inside the esophagus. So here we have the pressure rising within this esophageal lumen. And this pressure actually becomes so high that the esophagus actually tears at its weakest point. So the tear of the esophagus is usually a full thickness tear, which is known as a transmural tear, basically involving all the layers of the esophageal wall. It's usually vertical, and it's usually located on the left posterior lateral distal esophagus, 3 to 6 centimeters above the diaphragm. So this is basically where the tear occurs, above the diaphragm, which means above the abdominal cavity, and just in that thoracic portion of the esophagus. So the tear is usually about 3 to 6 centimeters and is usually longitudinal or occurs long ways. And air and stomach content then leak into the mediastinum, which is the space in the chest that contains the lungs and the heart and other important structures. And when the stomach content of semi-digested food and acidic liquid move into the mediastinal space, it causes mediastinitis, which is the infection and inflammation of the mediastinal space. And this leads to sepsis and potentially death if not treated urgently. So this is what actually happens. These patients will develop mediastinitis, sepsis, and then shock. So this is why Boerhaave syndrome is such an important surgical emergency. So how do these patients present clinically? So the classic triad, or 3 symptoms that are noted in patients, include that forceful vomiting initially, then they have severe chest pain, and then they have subcutaneous emphysema. And this triad, or collection of 3 symptoms, is referred to as Mackler's Triad. And subcutaneous emphysema here basically occurs when gas or air is in the layer under the skin. So this is a patient normally, and this is mild subcutaneous emphysema, and this is severe subcutaneous emphysema. So just to give you an idea of what these patients look like when they present. So this patient will present with vomiting first, then severe chest pain and subcutaneous emphysema. So subcutaneous refers to the tissue beneath the skin, and emphysema refers to trapped air. So in this process, we have trapped air occurring under the skin. These patients can also present with dyspnea or a difficulty in breathing, a fever, shock. As we said, if mediastinitis develops, then we will develop shock in these patients, and they can appear cyanotic, especially in cases of dyspnea where they have a difficulty in breathing. So how is Boerhaave syndrome diagnosed? So the diagnosis of Boerhaave syndrome is done first with a plain chest x-ray or a plain chest radiography, and then it is confirmed by a chest CT scan. So let's take a closer look at what these actually look like in a clinical setting. So on the chest x-ray or the plain radiograph, so the classic chest x-ray findings include a pneumomediastinum, which means abnormal air in the mediastinal space. There can also be a left pleural effusion because, as we said, this tear most commonly occurs on the left side, and a left pneumothorax, which means air in the thoracic space. So gas may also be seen with soft tissue spaces of the chest wall and the neck. And we can also have the V sign of Naegleria, which is a focal, sharply marginated region of paraspinal radiolucency in on the left side immediately above the diaphragm, which is that most common spot that the tear actually occurs in. So if we take a closer look at this x-ray here, we see arrows A, which all show the edge of the collapsed lung. And then arrow B here actually shows the trachea, which has deviated to the right. Due to the pneumomediastinum and the collapsed lung, it actually pushes the trachea, and the trachea has completely deviated to the right side. If we take a closer look at the CT for confirmation, so a CT is a highly sensitive test used for diagnosing Boerhaave syndrome and identifying some of the complications. So the CT findings may include the periesophageal air, which is suggestive of the esophageal perforation. There can also be contrast leak from the esophagus if the patient can ingest oral contrast and if we can use this during this procedure. It might also show esophageal wall thickening, pneumomediastinum, left side pleural effusion, left side pneumothorax, and mediastinal fluid collections. So as we see in this chest CT, we have the axial plane, which shows the free mediastinal air right here, and the right pleural effusion, which is seen here. And then we can see in the coronal plane the extent of the pneumomediastinum, which is basically all the air in the mediastinal space. The treatment and prognosis. So with the exception of a few case reports describing survival without surgery, the mortality rate of untreated Boerhaave syndrome is nearly 100%. Its treatment includes immediate antibiotic therapy to prevent mediastinitis and sepsis, as well as surgical repair of the perforation, and if there is significant fluid loss, it should be replaced immediately with IV fluid therapy since oral rehydration won't be possible at that time. So even with early surgical intervention, which is surgery within the first 24 hours, the risk of death is still at least 25%. So did you know the disease is named after Herman Boerhaave, who was a professor in clinical medicine from the Netherlands, and the syndrome was described by Dr. Boerhaave after a Dutch admiral, Baron Jan van Wassenaar, died of this condition. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and to share this video with someone you think may benefit from it. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.